Good afternoon, everyone. Glad you can join us here on the News 8 Plus app, where we're going to give you an updated version of what we're expected to see later this afternoon and evening when it comes to the potential for severe weather. James Zahara here with me, of course, Morgan Strackbine, who is, we found out you're going to be officially in the Beast.
I'm going to be driving.
You're gonna be doing the driving.
I'm going to be doing the driving. We're going to have Peter in the back.
Peter in the back, okay.
Yep. And we'll be giving you guys updates. I think we're going to start towards, I think we're going to head towards Walcott.
Walcott, okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Watch the storms come in. So we'll be giving updates through the 4, 5, and 6 o'clock shows.
Okay, and of course we'll have actually another chaser in our group that's also going to be making its way probably more south of us. But it's all because of the conditions that we're looking at as we head later on this afternoon and going in the early evening. And if you joined Morgan as well as Andrew this morning, there has been a lot of upgrades going on as far as the risk values are concerned here locally, as well as what we can actually participate going into the late afternoon and early evening hours. So let's get kind of right into it, because this was the first change that we saw. I think it was updated right around, I think 11 o'clock or so.
11:30.
11:30 with the risk value that we're seeing here. And this covers pretty much the entire viewing area, with the exception of a couple of our counties way up into our north around Jones and Jackson. But still, it's pretty much a widespread of risk event that we're looking at, with the main threat being some damaging wind gusts and even some isolated tornadoes now. We have to kind of put that in the picture now.
Yeah, and especially with the, we were watching, especially our in-house model. That's kind of the one that we really like using. This morning's run, I think, is the one that we've been following a lot closer. We had an update just before the 11 a.m. show, and it was trying to push in a lot more rain near noon, and I did not think that was going to happen. And so far, again, a pretty good line is looking like that's trying to form.
Right.
And along that leading edge, we get those quick, brief spin-ups.
Right.
So tornado is definitely going to be a threat here. But again, I think it's going to be the winds and a lot of rain that we need to also really watch out.
We certainly had our fair share yesterday. And if you didn't get a chance to go into Morgan's Facebook page, you were actually in downtown Moline, by the way.
I was boots on the ground. In the flooding.
So. What, 2 or 4 inches of rain it fell, and in an hour or so?
It was quick. I didn't even know. All of a sudden I looked out the window and there was no more road.
Oh, it was unbelievable. And it's rare to see that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing. So let's kind of break this down even more for you. Like we mentioned about the risk values that we see here, let's talk about the time. We're going to talk about the watch that has been issued for the area as well. Let's talk about the when. We're still looking at 4 to 9, and we're talking about the earliest 4 o'clock for areas well west of the river, our hometowns well east of the river. We're talking about maybe eastern Whiteside County, maybe Bureau County, maybe around 9 o'clock or so. Really, all modes of severe weather are in play here, including the possibility of flash flooding like we saw in many of our communities yesterday, where 3 to even over 5 inches of rain actually took place. So important during this time period to make sure you are receiving those alerts. Make sure that you have your Storm Track 8 app ready to go as well, fully charged, because in there you can be interactive with it, showing how the movement of these storms are taking place, how they've been taking place. Very good tool to have, certainly in these situations. I'm going to kind of skip a little bit here because I want to go ahead and show everyone the tornado watch that has been issued, came out, I believe, about an hour or so ago?
And now we have where you see Waterloo, those storms are forming. That's where we have a severe thunderstorm watch.
Offhand, I'm not sure the time, maybe about the same time, maybe about, from now until maybe about 5 or 6, we'll probably say that. That's assuming, but we're going to focus on our area across eastern Iowa and northwestern Illinois. That is until 8 p.m. Now, you can see there are a few of our counties that are not in this watch. Now, that could change eventually later on. So questions are going to come up certainly as to what time these storms are going to be popping up. We're going to be watching this area of activity develop along and south of this boundary, and combined with this area of low pressure riding along this boundary, you have that turning of the air from the surface aloft, and that brings in a possibility of seeing some supercells that may actually drop maybe a few brief isolated tornadoes. So that's our biggest concern. So time-wise around here, I would say for our far eastern viewing area, we may be talking about maybe 7 or 8 o'clock when those storms arrive. Along the river itself, we may be talking about 6, and then maybe 4 or 5 o'clock the farther west of our viewing area as you go. That looks pretty much on target.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We're already starting to see, some of those little pop-ups in northern Missouri kind of starting to kind of ride along that boundary there.
Yeah, you can see some of that activity now beginning to pop up right there and moving, pretty much getting into that watch area. So things are going to blossom really in the big way because we still have that same air mass that is so buoyant and so juicy. The same type of air mass that we had around here yesterday afternoon and evening, producing those flooding, drenching rainstorms that took place. And with all that rain coming down very heavily, it's the law of gravity here. It pushes that air, and with it, some of that air being pushed can be so intense it can cause some damage. And that's why we have that threat, not only for some the threat of tornadoes, but also when it comes to the possibility of some damaging winds. We can actually break this down as far as the wind damage is concerned. And this is very impressive, Morgan. We're seeing a 3 out of 5 risk of seeing that mainly around the southern 2/3 of our area.
Yeah, so it's really no surprise that we did get this upgrade. I was almost kind of expecting it, especially heading into the 11 a.m. newscast. I was, we were starting to see the sun begin to peek out a little bit, and that just adds fuel to the fire, and we were already seeing a primed environment for these storms. So again, no surprise that we've been upgraded here. No surprise that it's mainly that wind damage. And again, isolated tornadoes are definitely going to be a possibility with that upgrade. Now, when it comes to the tornado threat,
I want to move that all the way.
That's where you see that darker red. It's not as widespread as the wind threat. So again, I think the main tornado risk area is going to be along and south of I-80. That doesn't mean that we're not going to see tornadoes potentially north. It's basically everyone should be aware, and should be watching for any mode of severe weather.
Right, somewhere kind of in that area in particular where the best chance we could be seeing maybe a few tornadoes that could pop up. And very likely with that level 3 out of 5 that we're seeing here from the Quad Cities and south and west, this is probably the best area where some of those cells will be more discrete.
Yes.
And so that's where we see that higher risk in areas near the Quad Cities and especially in southeastern Iowa than areas surrounding that. But as Morgan just mentioned, doesn't mean that you won't see any tornadoes. There still is a good possibility that some can still form outside of that level 3 risk as well. Let's talk more about that rain, because what we noticed from last night to today is the flood watch has now extended throughout our entire viewing area.
Yeah, and that's no surprise there. Again, with yesterday's flooding, and we were getting reports even in Clinton of standing water on roads. It's not going to take much more rain to overwhelm the area. Right. Even more so than last night. And we're already seeing, concerns about some heavy rain. So it's not going to take much to see, once again, a lot of those roadways potentially get overwhelmed with that. And again, the concern is we're talking about, between 5 and 7 o'clock that it could be crossing the Mississippi River. The roads are going to be a lot more busy than it was last night at 10 p.m. when we saw that rain come through. So again, I've just been telling people to try to be smart. If you can delay, maybe driving a little bit if you're getting some heavy rain coming through at that time. And I also want to emphasize, never cross a flooded road. I saw way too many people going through the standing water in Moline. I would never, especially in downtown Moline or downtown areas like that, where you have so many exit strategies, so many ways around it. But instead, people just go through it. It's not worth your life. It's not worth your car. And it's also not worth, let's let the emergency personnel, you don't want to become an emergency for them.
You actually had a little wave that was coming into the business that you were at.
Oh, the water was coming into the business.
Unbelievable. There were still a couple of cars that were stuck in that water, that standing water as well. So they eventually got those out. So here's the reason, because the ground is really saturated. It's already a wet sponge. So any more additional rain, especially coming down in a very short period of time, that can easily cause some flooding. We know that there are some places here and there where we have poor drainage areas. It just doesn't take a lot of water in a very short period of time. So just keep that in mind if you're watching us across eastern Iowa and northwestern Illinois. And as excuse me, Morgan just mentioned, this was the rainfall that we had yesterday. And as you mentioned about Clinton going up to Savannah, Thompson, they had about an average of about 5 inches of rain, even making its way eastward toward Carroll County into Milledgeville. We had some reports coursing around the immediate Quad Cities, as Morgan just mentioned, in downtown Moline. Even parts of Bureau County, just outside of Princeton, they had reports of about 4.5 inches of rain. And likewise, in a small part of Muscatine going into Louisa County, northern Louisa County, they had some pretty heavy rain. Now, the only area that kind of missed out on all the drenching rain has been south of us in areas right along Mount Pleasant, Burlington, and Galesburg. They're looking for some rain. They just don't want the heavy stuff. But I think where that boundary is, as we just showed everyone, I think that picture is going to change in a big way.
Yeah. No, for sure. And especially looking at that boundary is where we're going to continue to see a lot of those storms fire off. And right now it has been hugging a bit south. So again, where you do see some of those pop-up storms right now in southeastern Iowa, that's likely going to continue to be the environment where we see these storms continue to form.
Right. So the storms that we're noticing from Des Moines and points north toward Waterloo, I'm not concerned. We're not concerned about those storms at all. I think those will stay more off to our north. We're going to keep an eye on the activity mainly along Highway 34 and points south and west. As you can see, things are really begin to bubble up. Right along the Iowa-Missouri border and points south and west toward Chillicothe. That's the area we're going to be keeping an eye on. And being discrete cells, they have a chance to turn, and thus there's a possibility we can get some maybe some tornadic activity out of this as well. I did put a future track together, and you were mentioning about, and I kind of agree with you on this. I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit. This is from the 6Z model I think you guys were talking about, because the models ahead of that weren't really corresponding to what was going on this morning. And, and you even mentioned the fact that, yeah, even throughout most of the morning, it's been pretty dry, getting some sun out there as well.
Yeah, especially south of the area where we kind of have that larger tornado threat. They definitely saw a lot more sunshine earlier this morning.
Right.
So that was a lot more energy to build into the region.
Right. So here's what we have going on our future track, and this really makes a lot of sense here as far as what we can see. Now, this is not etched in stone. Of course, we'll be seeing how these storms well to our south and west evolve as we go through the next few hours, but this is pretty the closest we've seen as far as what could actually take place. And certainly what we're really concerned about, and even the models are still showing this, we saw this last night, is the bowing that is this going on, this bending that we're seeing right here. Usually a very good indication of maybe some strong winds coming down from the storm itself.
Yeah, and again, I want to point out the timing. Like I said, you know, it's Friday. Lots of people are going to be out on the roads at 5 o'clock. So again, trying to emphasize, you know, how heavy that rain is going to be. You know, if you can kind of wait a little bit, that's probably going to be your best bet this evening when heading out.
This is around 7 o'clock. You can see how pretty much most of the activity is going to be more on the Illinois side. So this is a kind of a 5-hour loop that we have from now all the way to about 7. But you pretty much get the gist of it. So we're counties that are actually, once again, not in the watch until 8 o'clock, like we mentioned about Bureau County. I think we even had Stark County in there. Let me go back to it again. Knox County. Stark, even around Bureau. That could still change for you guys as we head into the evening hours. But this is the box that we're seeing right now as far as the tornado watch is concerned. And once again, we're going to keep an eye where that boundary is and points south and west. Those are the storms that is going to definitely impact our area from about 4 o'clock to about 9. 4 o'clock, really the earliest that we see for our far western viewing area, and then more around 8 to 9 o'clock for our far eastern area. But once again, that could be tweaked a little bit depending on how these storms kind of evolve as we make our way into the next few hours or so. We're going to try even take some questions, because I believe not only are we streaming here on the 8 Plus app, but also on our WQAD Facebook page, and we appreciate everyone who's putting in their questions. I know there's a lot that's talking about when is it going to hit this area, when is it going to hit that area. You know, that's the thing. So what kind of questions you got?
A viewer asked, what is the current threat of tornado-producing weather, especially in the Quad Cities metro? I'd say for everyone, if you're asking about potential for tornadoes, potential for heavy rain, potential for winds, everyone has the same potential, really.
Right.
So there is going to be a potential, but with tornadoes, I can't tell you that it's going to form over your home.
Right.
We cannot do that.
Right.
So it is going to be just something to watch. And again, if you're going to be following radar, along that leading line, along that leading edge, is likely where we're going to see those little kind of twists and turns for tornadoes to form. Once you get that leading edge past you, usually you're pretty much in the clear from the tornado threat. Now, winds and heavy rain is going to be something that we experience for a little bit longer.
And that's something to keep in mind, folks. It doesn't have to spin to cause damage. I mean, a good straight line wind coming from a drenching thunderstorm certainly can cause some damage as well. So don't be surprised. And we'll have probably John Diaz with us as well for our weather coverage on the main desk. Possibly talk about, like we saw in some of our hometowns yesterday, some hopefully brief power outages that could be taking place because of all that wind that may be accompanied by some of these storms.
Will the Storm Prediction Center upgrade the wind potential? Do you agree with the tornado potential? I'd say we're pretty much solid on where we're at when it comes to any upgrades. I think what they put out at just around 11:30 with that recent upgrade to a level 3, I think that's pretty much what we're seeing. I see a pretty typical classic level 3 event that's going to happen out here.
Yeah, that was really no surprise to you. You guys were kind of talking about it this morning, that there was a very stronger potential for seeing that. And yeah, that certainly is going to be the case, especially from Savannah, Maquoketa Point southward. This is an area where likely we may be talking about winds, 60 miles an hour or stronger. There is that possibility, could get a little stronger. But once you get over 60 miles an hour, that's when we start seeing some of that damage.
A viewer asks, is it safe to crack your window, not wide open, if there's going to be a tornado? I grew up believing if we didn't crack our windows a little, that the tornado will blow out the windows in your home. I personally would say I don't think it matters.
It doesn't.
The tornado
matter at
is gonna take out your window no matter what.
That's right. There was that old saying about the pressure bit.
Yeah.
I remember that when I was a kid as well. And they were stressing a little bit of that where the direction of the tornado, whatever the windows are facing where the tornado is, those are the windows you open up to level the pressure. But no, it has nothing to do with that.
Your home is not like pressure proof.
Correct.
The pressure outside is the same pressure inside, and no matter if your windows are open or not, it's not going to change.
That's right.
But I get it.
The important thing is to just make sure that you stay away from those windows. Get to your safe place, as if there are any warnings that do happen to pop up in your hometown. So that's the important thing right there. Good point. Yes.
Somebody's looking about. Or asking what the CAPE is looking like. So CAPE is the energy that storms use. And this morning when we were looking at it, we had some pretty high energy that we're working with. And I'm sure we have it really building right now.
Yeah, a lot of convective energy that's in play here. Nothing that's going to hold back these storms from really blossoming, and thus the reason why we have all modes of severe weather in play. I mean, we could be seeing some hail again, but really it's all about the wind that we could be talking about here, and certainly the very heavy rain, because once again, like yesterday, this air is really buoyant, and it's like a big old sponge, and we can squeeze that sponge real quickly, and thus you can get a lot of water in a very short period of time.
Yeah, and Andrew was talking about it this morning. What we also look at is precipitable water, which is basically saying how much water the atmosphere is capable of holding or even producing. And we're talking about precipitable water amounts of 2 inches plus. And when we get that, we know that there's like a lot of water potential in the atmosphere.
Right, exactly. I mean, it was kind of the same too last night as well. So yeah, that's a good sign. We're going to get some pretty good rain out of these storms again. The good news is once we get through this wave, and things are looking pretty good going into the weekend. There could be maybe a stray shower later tomorrow. We got a boundary coming in tomorrow afternoon, but it's still trending dry really through most of Saturday, and Sunday looks fantastic.
They just added another severe thunderstorm watch.
Another severe thunderstorm watch in parts of Missouri and Kansas. We don't have to worry too much about that, but likely this is a watch that could be in effect until early evening as well.
Yeah, you can see how quickly those storms are starting to fire off. I mean, that environment is getting primed. This is an interesting question.
Yeah.
How come, this is what David asks, how come we can't track a tornado, but we can track a hurricane? And hurricanes are so large, so big, we see them.
Yes.
They're happening. They're going to happen for several days. Tornadoes don't happen for several days. And like we said, we know when the environment is capable of producing them.
Right.
We just don't know why some storms produce them and why some don't.
Yeah, we still question whether, how large they're going to be, how small they're going to be, the duration. That's always a big challenge. So that's what we have. That's a big difference between the two itself. And of course, it covers a very small,
I was going to say the size.
Area too.
You're talking about a tornado is this big to a hurricane is this big.
That's right. I mean, you also have to keep in mind too that when it comes to tornadoes themselves, sometimes even on the radar, we have a hard time trying to find that circulation. And that's why, in these situations, especially this situation that we have coming in for the late afternoon, early evening, the best weather instrument you can have out there are your eyes. And that's why you're going to be going in the Beast with Peter. Peter's all excited. He's all excited about getting the Beast with you two and going out there and doing some serious chasing.
Yeah, so we'll be going out and definitely watching those storms roll in, and then keeping an eye out on the flooding potential as well. I know we'll have even a couple more people around the area, some photographers that will be set up. I know somebody is going to go to downtown Moline, kind of where we were seeing the flooding last night, and be set up kind of in a higher ground area to see how those roads are looking. So we definitely are going to have lots of eyes on the ground. Not only that, we rely on reports, which I want to get to this one. It says, what would be the best way to send photos and videos to you?
Perfect.
I would say email, as our managing editor just says. Email is going to be the best way to get it quickest, because we're going to have, and I would say you want to send it to news@wqad.com.
Right.
If you send it just to that email, don't go through, I know on the apps it's like send us an email. Not everyone in the newsroom will get it. If you just send an email to news@wqad.com, everyone will get it, and then that means we get multiple eyes on it, we get multiple people reviewing it, and we can show people those photos.
Yeah, it's just going to be a lot quicker for us to get that picture, that video, let's say, or even your information to us much quicker, so we can get it out to everyone out there as well. So that's kind of the key, that you have to have all those resources available in these situations to kind of get a good picture of not what is only happening now, but what we could actually see going into the future. There are a lot of questions that we have.
Tyler asks, will these storms be moving very fast or slower?
That's a really, really good question. I would think that, we may be talking about these storms moving around maybe 40 miles an hour. I think that's a safe
I wouldn't say they're going to be booking it.
Right.
Especially with the potential for flash flooding.
Right.
So we're talking about, it's going to take some time to get those storms out. So we're likely going to see quite a, I think for me, it's typical storm speed. It's not slow and it's not fast.
Right. I think when we talk about discrete cells, those are the ones I think will move a lot faster, because afterwards.
Tornado warning.
A tornado warning?
Yeah.
It just popped up.
Yeah, right behind that boundary, or right behind that tornado watch until 8 p.m. You see it, the little pink?
Oh, I see it. You got it. Yep, I see it. It's actually, no. We don't have to go on. I'll show everyone what we're talking about.
It's not in our area, but it's a good indicator that we're already starting to see that activity.
But that's around Ottumwa itself, and it's moving toward the northeast, and likely will be, if it does kind of blossom even more, that has a lie toward Iowa City itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Iowa City, and then could have, but it's what's happening with these initial discrete cells is they have much more potential to fire off a tornado. what's going to happen is these discrete cells are eventually going to form a line.
Yeah, we call it kind of a linear
Yeah.
effect. And that's where things kind of slow down, blossom, and that's where you're going to get a whole lot of rain. And more likely with that rain, a better chance of even seeing some pretty good wind. But we can't rule out, like we saw last night, some of these, the leading edge of it producing these little couplets, these little brief spin-ups. So that's what we could potentially be seeing going into the late afternoon, but especially going to the early evening hours once they cross parts of southeastern Iowa, going across into northwestern Illinois. So that's a tornado warning for Ottumwa, well west of our viewing area. And given the track of that, that will stay just outside of our viewing area. So that's some good news. Once again, we're going to be focusing on those storms that are taking place right around the Iowa-Missouri border, even some of these storms that have gone warned just north of Chillicothe in Missouri. Those are the storms we'll be keeping an eye on as well. Things are going to be really blossoming here going in the next hour or two, that's for sure.
Yes, somebody says tornado EF5 possibility. With events like this, it's not as likely. So with strong tornadoes, like we're talking about your EF3 or higher, those tend to be more supercellular, so you get in those discrete cells. With this event, we're going to see this become more linear. And with those linear events, and especially with the wind and the heavy rain and all that stuff, it kind of chokes out the rotation a little bit sooner, makes it broader a little more. So usually we're seeing weaker tornadoes, usually not on the ground for too long.
Right, it kind of chokes away the inflow going into that line of storms that we see. So no, not really anticipating anything like that, but certainly some, definitely some spin-ups, and it doesn't take much for a brief spin-up to cause enough damage to climb its way on the scale itself, on the EF scale itself. So that's something we'll definitely be watching as well. But no question, we're in a situation where we could be talking about some damage in a small part of our area, some isolated activity, brief power outages. There could be some tree limbs that could come down with the potential for seeing some of these strong winds going into the next few hours or so. So that's kind of what we're watching right now. But right now, though, everything is all quiet around here. If you've been outside, it is warm, it is humid, and I know that those dew point temperatures are right back in those lower 70s. But you can see when it comes to our area, everything's pretty quiet. Right now we've got plenty of 80s, few clouds rolling in, not holding back those temperatures. But it really doesn't matter when it comes to the clouds that we're kind of seeing right here. The dynamics are already in place. The level of instability is in place. As you mentioned, Morgan, the level of convective energy is definitely in place across our entire area. So all the elements are there for some severe weather to take place across most of our towns around eastern Iowa and northwestern Illinois. So the question is, you know, who's going to be impacted the most? Where is that possible maybe damage going to be taking place? That's a lot of questions that always takes off. Those are the questions that we always see no matter what time we do any type of this coverage.
I know, and I'm going through these questions. I am saying, I'm just avoiding everyone saying, when is it going to hit my town?
Right.
So if you're on the Iowa side, I'd say 4 to 6 o'clock. If you're on the Illinois side, 6 to 8 o'clock.
Right, right. I'm going to actually get the future track up again here, because this is the model like you guys were talking about this morning, which I believe too is probably the prime model that we have here. And I'll stop the clock here. This is around 3 o'clock, and the stuff that we just showed you off to our south and west, that's going to be bubbling pretty quickly. And then as we get to, I'm going to stop at about 5 o'clock. And that makes a lot of sense there. I think anything really west of the river, 4, 5 o'clock that we're looking at. And you even mentioned too about, you know, it's rare to see this, but we're even getting some of the contours here, the color around Tipton. Just, it's not etched in stone, but it's getting an indication that we could get, once again, some extremely heavy rain out of this.
Yes, and that's definitely going to be a possibility. And what Andrew was even talking about is, you know, how wide the line is. It's not a quick little skinny line that we see a lot of times. It's very wide. So again, once you get through that leading edge, the tornado threat starts to go down. But then you're going to be dealing with a lot of heavy rainfall, and it's not going to lighten up quick. It's likely going to be a good hour that you're experiencing some pretty good rain.
Right, right. And then this is around 6 o'clock or so, just getting across the river itself. We go to about 7. And you can see how most of the activity is going to be pretty much along and east of the river. And then as we get later after that, that system will continue to make its way off to the north and east. So anything that could be intense may be taking place in our far eastern viewing area between 7 and 8 o'clock, we'll say. And then after that, I think the threat is going to be over with, where it's going to be, you know, your run-of-the-mill showers and thunderstorms. Still maybe a little heavy rain here and there. But I think the best time period is between 4 and 7, 4 and 8 from west to east across our area.
Yeah. And again, once we get to around 8, 9 o'clock, at least the severe weather threat most likely is going to dwindle down. But you're just dealing with the heavy rain and maybe even some gusty winds still at that time. Jeff asks, what if we live in a trailer and have no shelter close by? I would say, you know, best case scenario for people who don't have that access to a shelter nearby, if you have a family member or friend that you can just go visit for the evening, that's probably going to be your best bet.
Right. Right. You certainly don't want to be in a trailer. Bottom line, you don't want to be in a trailer.
I never recommend it during any severe weather events.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe a nice sturdy building somewhere, you know, at a shopping center or something like that. But, you know, when you get to the evening hours and such, any family or friends that you may know, that would be a good place. You know, a nice sturdy building is the best place to be, but certainly a place that has, you know, a safe area, basement, a closet or whatever. You want to put as many walls between you and the storms itself. So that's kind of the basic rule that we have. If you do happen to live in a trailer, last place you want to be. And we can take a couple of more questions.
Yeah, a couple more questions before we'll leave. Oh, I see a lot of people asking about, could this be a derecho event? Again, that's another one of those things that we can't really forecast because you can't call a storm a derecho until it hits derecho criteria.
Right. Certain amount of miles
I
that it has to go.
don't think that this is going to be a derecho event.
Correct. I really don't think so either. I think, but you know, you're going to still get that wind.
Yes.
Some of our hometowns, not all, some of our hometowns will get some pretty intense wind gusts. And like we mentioned about the fact that we could be seeing some brief spin-ups as well. So yes.
Should people living down on River Drive by Vibrant Arena, LeClaire Lofts, Mullion Enterprise, all those areas, be safe staying at their home / place of employment? They've been saying, you know, just stay higher up. Yeah, again, especially in apartment buildings, is if you're just above that top floor or that bottom floor, it should be fine.
You should be just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Even my daughter who lives actually where you were. Like, she was curious about all this rain and wind that was going on. We're going to be
She's luckily a little bit more higher up.
Yes.
Yeah. So
she was kind of shocked with all that rain that was coming down.
it was crazy. Okay, we'll take one more question. Jennifer in Rock Island asks, could the stalled front move either north or south, and how could it affect the Quad Cities Metro? Basically, yes, it could move either north or south. It's kind of going to continue to do that until we get that area of low pressure to move in.
Right.
And then that's kind of where we're going to start to see the behind the system move in. So yes, it can. And then again, how it's going to affect the area, it's going to affect everyone the same way today. Everyone needs to be on guard for tornadoes. Everyone needs to be on guard for wind, heavy rain, frequent lightning, all of that.
And of course, we'll make sure that we give you the best coverage we can right here on the 8 Plus app. Of course, we will very likely be giving you more of that coverage here on this streaming channel. And of course, any warnings that do happen to pop up, they'll be coming on the bottom of your screen, especially any tornado warnings that do happen to pop up in our viewing area. That's where we're going to break into coverage and make sure that the threat is all said and done if those warnings, those tornado warnings do happen to pop up. But even if there are not any tornado warnings, if we have, of course, I'm trying to get the breakdown here. Severe thunderstorm warnings that may be widely scattered. You know, we're going to go to the 8 Plus app. Okay, so it's going to be pretty much some nonstop severe weather coverage until the threat is all said and done. So once again, you're going to be in the beast with Peter. Andrew is coming in. I believe he's probably in a slight REM stage right now, getting a little bit of a nap.
Yeah, sent him home to make sure he rests up.
You gave him one of these. Get some sleep.
Yes.
Because he'll be with me going in the evening hours. I'll be on the green screen. He'll be at the weather desk. We'll have John on the anchor desk as well. Of course, we'll have other reporters out and about. We are covering you from left to right, from west to east across your area. And we are definitely ready when it comes to this potential severe weather event. Thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of Morgan and myself, we will talk to you later.
Continue with us and watch free now on the 8 Plus app everywhere you stream.